Welcome back. It is Seat Open in Sin City. I'm Spike. I'm joined as always by Mick Folden, Andrew Pieper. Joining us today, our very special guest and first return visitor, our good friend Patrick. I don't know why the fuck you're laughing about that. We will have return visitors, I promise, every once in a while. We are going to get to talking about what is going on in the Las Vegas poker scene. We are going to talk about what we've been doing for the past month while we've been off, sort of unintentionally, because I have been way too busy this summer for my own good. We're also going to be talking about the upcoming football season and what the poker rooms around Las Vegas are going to be doing. Pretty much any room that took any kind of jackpot drop that we know about is running some kind of promotion for this time of year. So we'll figure out what the good, the bad, and the ugly of those, and maybe we'll get to a little bit of Mick Folding's new living situation if we have time. So, Andrew, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us what you've been up to the past month? I know August is basically the slowest month for poker in Las Vegas, so how have you been doing?
Been doing pretty good. I just returned from a trip to LA for about a week and a half or so, and that was a lot of fun. Went and played at the Bicycles Casino at the Commerce for a while, and that was a lot of fun. Hung out with Will Kassouf for a while, and we've gotten to be friends and then got to meet some pretty cool people in poker. Went out to dinner with the CEO of WPT and Pat Lyons, and met Phil Hellmuth, met Mattisau, and yeah, it was really cool. It was a good experience. So just got back on Sunday, and so yeah, games have been kind of not as many games going in August, which was one of the reasons to go to California and search for some other action, and the games are always good out there. So yeah, but now we have football season starting up. College was just this past week, and NFL starting this week. So looks like it should be pretty good. But I don't really know for sure because this is my first time here. So
right. Well, I mean, you'll learn pretty quickly how good the football games can be for poker. Now you were on Live at the Bike as well. Was it Live at the Bike, or was it one of the other ones?
Yeah, it was Live at the Bike.
Yeah, and there's an infamous hand where you were present but not actually in the hand, where Will Kassouf just lived up to his reputation. You want to run us through that hand just a little bit? I know, again, I really hate doing hand histories with no kind of visualization behind it, but I mean, this is one for the ages.
Yeah, this is pretty sick. Got a lot of attention, and Kassouf isn't really controversial at all, so he just felt he needed to do something a little out of line.
No, he's everybody's best friend,
right,
and I think everybody knows, he's just having a grand old time at the table, and he doesn't get under anybody's skin. That's not his game.
No. So, not entirely sure of the pre-flop action. I guess it was 4 or 5 ways, and there's raise, Kassouf called, and the other person called. There's sitting fairly deep. We're playing 5-5, and I think they both had over 1,000 there, and so Kassouf is holding pocket 6s, and the main villain in the hand is holding pocket 8s, and the flop comes 6-6-8. So pretty cooler flop for where no one, there's just really no situation where all the money doesn't go in. And from the flop, Kassouf starts talking, and he's like, "Oh, I flop quads. What do I do with flop quads here? Should I start with a check?" And then continues talking the entire time, and then it gets to the river, and it's still 3 ways. Some guy with jack high has no idea that he's betting into these monsters, and then Jack High bets again on the river. Kassouf raises and tells the guy with the pocket 8s that the only way he can win the pot is by raising, and of course guy goes all in, and Kassouf then takes an incredibly takes a very long time and and is just building up in a tremendous slow roll, and he's asking what he needs to win the hand. He turns over 1-6 and then asks what suit and what other card that he needs. What's the only other card in the deck that he could win this hand against. And it goes on for several minutes before eventually someone else turns the other card over for him, and revealing the quad sixes, and whole table like erupts, and Kasuf takes down this. I think it was over a 2K pot, and his opponent took it really well. He was so sure that he was beat. He was ready to muck top boat before he even showed him, but. It took I think around 8 minutes for the whole hand to develop, and Kasu was asking, is there a time limit for how long we can slow roll? When's the last time you've been slow rolled? And so it really wasn't as big of a needle as some people thought it was. The table dynamic was all pretty light and talkative, and except for me, really, I think all the other guys viewed 5-5 as playing 1 cent, 2 cent online. They were kind of upset that the game was so small, actually, and so it was that everyone was having fun, and Kasuf just knew that this was on stream and this was for entertainment, so he was going to try and make it as entertaining as possible. And yeah, so that blew up quite all over Reddit, all over the internet, and so that was pretty interesting.
So, who else in poker could pull a slow roll? Well, first of all, who else in poker could say, "I flop quads, I don't know how to play this hand," and be believed and get paid off? Like, I don't know anybody else that is that kind of in other people's heads that would be able to pull that kind of move and actually have it work.
Right.
Maybe Helmuth, you think?
Yeah, possibly Helmuth. Maybe a guy like Tony G. Yeah, he's very gifted at table talk, or speech play as he calls it, and being able to just get inside his opponent's heads and telling them what he has and what he doesn't have, and getting big folds or getting checks behind when he knows he's probably beat. And yeah, he just really he definitely owned the spotlight in that hand.
It's crazy. All right, Patrick, welcome back.
Thank you.
Shut up.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah. All right. I know that you've been playing a little bit as well. Typically, I'm the one that drags you out to play stupid tournaments at night. But how'd your August go? What are things looking like for you in September as a player?
Yeah, I haven't been playing a whole ton in August. I sort of took it easy post World Series, and work has been unexpectedly busy, despite the fact that it's generally a slow time for poker. But I've been playing a lot of the 4-8 Omaha High at the Boulder Station Casino. Yeah,
you've been telling me for quite a long time that game is crazy, with pots over $100 where second pair is winning.
It's really insane. The best example I have is the other day I had ace 6 7 8 with the ace 7 8 of hearts. Flop comes out 4 5 6 all hearts. So I flopped a straight flush and also have the ace high flush just as an aside, plus a pair. Bet and 5 calls into me. What on earth could these people have? I have literally everything. It's a real fun game. If you enjoy limit poker, especially Omaha, there's not a better game in town. I am terrible at Omaha, and I am easily one of the better players there.
Wow. All right.
It's insane.
Well, that's good to know. Now, apart from being a player, you are also a dealer. I know that were you dealing full-time during last football season?
Yes.
Yeah, so in a minute we're going to be talking about the promos that are coming up at some of these rooms, but what, in your experience, has been the type of player that you see that seeks these promos out and actually comes out to poker games for these promos?
There are a lot of people who basically want to come to a casino, get drunk, and play poker at the same time. It's because it doesn't require constant attention. It's probably a little bit better for watching a sporting event than, say, your blackjack or something like that, which constantly requires you to be doing something. Whereas poker, you will at least have a few minutes in between every hand that you're not playing. So it's just, there are a lot of people that are like that, and so all these casinos are just desperately trying to get those people through the door and giving them rake instead of someone else.
Right. Now, are you finding that these games attract more limit players, more no limits? Do you think it just kind of spreads out depending on the casino?
I think it depends on the casino. In my experience, a few more no limit players than limit players, but they'll play, they'll play whatever they need to play if the promotion's good enough.
All right. And from what I could see in my research, I mean, I did a couple hours looking these things up today, and most of what I found was on the Strip. I was actually surprised I saw so few places off Strip that had any kind of promos listed on their website or on Bravo. Thanks for shutting your phone off before we started this. That's real professional, I say, from sitting on my coffee table here with my feet up in my socks. But what can you do? Oh shit! I promised I wasn't going to edit anything out of these. Fuck! I gotta be careful what I say now. Forget what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
we're professional.
Yeah, I know. I got to start writing this shit down so I can have a plan of attack for these things. I was saying I was surprised at the number of places off Strip that didn't have any kind of promos listed. You would think that the local, I'll call them what they are, the local fleas, these are the kinds of games that they would be seeking out. Do you think that these games are better for the tourists, or are they better for the locals, or who do you think benefits from these?
I think in general, the locals, the regulars, benefit from the games because they're basically there anyway. They're just getting extra money to be there, and plus they get some overly loose football fans to donk off a few buy-ins to them. But yeah, it does surprise me. The local rooms have generally been pretty good about capitalizing on this football type stuff.
Yeah, especially like stations, but I couldn't find... I saw something for Palace because I was there last night, but like Red Rock, Green Valley Ranch, and Boulder, I couldn't find anything on their websites, couldn't find anything on Bravo.
I mean, the other thing you got to remember is that the, let's say, web sensibility of these people tends to be very low. These people don't don't really know how to work their computers. Let's say
that's
so.
Fair.
I would be very surprised if all of them didn't have at least something going, and didn't know how to put it on Bravo, basically, or didn't care about Bravo at all.
Reasonable. All right, and for the record, who's your team?
The Redskins.
There you go. All right. By the way, the name the Redskins is one of like the 3 fights my wife and I have ever had as to whether or not that name should be changed.
I mean, I would, if I were sold the team, I've got like $1,000 cash on me right now, Dan Snyder. Just putting it out there, but I would change the name tomorrow. But for now, it is what it is.
Right. All right. That's for a different podcast, I think. Andrew, first of all, who's your team?
New England Patriots.
There you go. I think you're lying to me, but I'll take it anyway because I'm a Pats fan. So what can you do? Now, as a pro, do you think these promos are going to help you as far as attracting looser players, or do you think this is going to really tighten the game up and people are just going to be promo chasing?
Yeah, I think there will be better games with the football season going. I think both at rooms with promos and without. Like Caesars, like for instance, like Caesars doesn't take promo money, but I still think the games, like particularly like at Caesars where they have like such a really nice sports book, those games are probably still going to be really good because they have nice TVs all around the room. It's right next to the sports book, except like almost every poker room is, and So yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty good. I don't think it's gonna be as bad. Like for instance, like Venetian and their high hands promo this year they usually get quite a few games going in there, and more so than a lot of other casinos. However, a lot of locals just show up for the high hand promos there and chase those, and so the games aren't always that great, even though there's a lot of tables going. So I think it's going to be I'm really interested to play in these games, and it definitely will probably gives me a little bit more incentive to play at rooms with promo drop, where I usually don't always make like a default habit of, just because of the higher rake, and where these promos that drop money is supposedly coming back to you a little quicker than normal.
Right, yeah, that promo money I think is what keeps a lot of the more dollar-conscious pros away from some of these rooms, because if they're dropping 5-1, or is there 6-1 in town? I don't think so. Yeah, that's probably too high. But 5-1, or even a 5-2 like that, or a 4-2 would be something that they're probably not too fond of. But like I said, I did a little bit of research on this today. You mentioned Caesars doesn't have anything, and they probably won't because they, they're not taking the promo drop. Aria, Bellagio, Venetian, Wynn. I couldn't find anything on those. None of those take a promo drop except Venetian, but that's all going to their high hand or bad beat.
They have, but they run both. I'm not sure if they're continuing their high hand promo into football season, but their bad beat jackpot's always going.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember. And I was also surprised I found nothing about Bally's, and they're pretty active on Twitter and Bravo. Like, they keep that stuff pretty well updated. So that was a little surprising that they didn't have anything. But some of the more interesting ones I found, Excalibur is running basically. They're calling it a hot seat drawing, where during the Sunday morning games and then the 3 night games, the Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night games, field goals are worth $50 for whatever seat they pick. Touchdowns are $100, and safeties are $200. So for anybody sitting in whatever lucky seat they pick out, you're going to get some free money there. Mandalay Bay is doing the exact same thing, except their prizes are cut in half, so I don't see any reason to go to Mandalay Bay over Excalibur. South Point's a little weird. They're doing something where they're giving away banners for each team, and it's basically if you get a high hand of the game, then you end up with the team banner. I don't know if it's your choice or their choice or however it works, but they're also doing football squares, and this is a popular one where they'll do the 10 by 10 grid, and they get the squares, and you can fill those out, and your name goes up there, and it's usually $50 a quarter if you have the right square, and then $100 for the final score. That's the one thing South Point's doing. It doesn't actually say how you earn a square. It's probably flush.
It tends to be full house or better.
Full house or better, okay.
And it goes over the whole week. It is just a real locals oriented, regulars oriented. It just benefits the people that are there, Tuesday to Friday grinding out those football squares.
Right, okay.
The hot seat promotion is much more, people who just show up, people are there for the game basically kind of promo.
Right. All right, that makes a little sense.
Treasure Island is doing something with football squares as well, I saw.
Right, yeah, and they're the only ones that are extending their promotion to tournament players as well, where either cash or tournament players can, based on a high hand, full house or better, presumably, they would be able to get a square. Every other place is cash games only. But yeah, that'll be a good one. I don't know what the payouts at TI are. I didn't get a sheet on that one.
Much as I love the TI, the reason why they extended to the tournaments is that if they just did it with cash games, they'd have like 4 football squares for the week.
Yeah.
It's bad news for the cash games in there most of the time.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. It's so surprising to me, just as an aside, how the TI cannot get cash games going when they're giving rake back. Like, they're the only place, well, I think Club Fortune was doing it for a while. I don't know if they still are. But I mean, they're doing rake back up to like $600 a week, and they can't get cash games going.
It's absolutely insane. I would probably put in some hours there, but it's like you're lucky to get 8 hours worth of cash game a day.
Right.
It's like it's tough to grind hours when the cash game isn't running at all most of the time.
They're not even open 24 hours a day now.
That's true. Yeah.
They have certain hours that they open at, and then I showed up once for their. I think it's 11. Well, yeah, I think they open at 11 now, and so I showed up for the 11 tournament, and one of the cash game grinders showed up there a few minutes before 11 and had a basket, not a basket, but he had like a fruit salad, and then he had also brought with him half a gallon of milk. So I think he was there to grind for quite a while. I was surprised to not see like him roll in the desk or something as well, but yeah, so those are the type of players it attracts. It's people really looking to that. Okay, here's my day.
The mental image of somebody bringing a half gallon of milk to a poker table is going to stick with me, just like the scene in Anchorman, which hopefully everybody has seen. Otherwise, I just sounded like a jackass making a reference that people like Kara Brewer don't get. All right, I love doing inside jokes on fucking podcasts like this. Yeah, some of the other promotions. Mirage had an interesting one. It's Monday night, Thursday night, and all day Sunday. They'll do seat drawings, and it's essentially the same kind of thing as a hot seat, except first it's only happening once per game. It doesn't matter about the score, but whenever that one seat is picked, the player to the left and to the right of that seat also get paid.
Interesting.
So. The player that gets picked gets $50. To the people to the left and right get $25 apiece. Next one, it goes up to $75 for the seat picked, and then it's $25 apiece. Then $125, and then $50 for the other players, and then $150 and $50. So that's kind of interesting. Harris was talking about some kind of splash pot thing, but they didn't actually give any kind of specifics about what qualifies or how they pick it or anything like that. So I'd be curious to see how that all plays out. Golden Nuggets doing the same kind of thing with splash pots. It's based on the scores, but it's Monday Night Football only, which is a little surprising. Most of these are for Sunday and Monday and even the Thursday night games.
It surprises me that they wouldn't do Thursday. Sunday, I understand they're busy anyway. But
right. Yeah, they don't need to bring in the extra people. That's a good point.
I guess they're busy enough on Thursday that they don't feel they need to bring any extras through the door.
Yeah. Do they have any kind of special tournament or anything going on Thursdays? Do we know? Doesn't sound familiar at the Nugget.
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does seem kind of weird because, at least to my knowledge anyway, a lot of people aren't going to be sticking around for the Monday night game anyway. So,
yeah. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of day specifics, Santa Fe Station, not a lot of tourists go up that way, nor do you have any reason to because the room's kind of dead.
Yep.
But they are doing a single $400 drawing after the Thursday night game.
Well, you have like a 1 in 15 chance to win it, so...
Yeah, pretty much. I can't. Although the last time I was up there, they only had the two games going. It was either a 2-4 or 3-6 limit game, and they had a single 1-2 game going. But they had a list for a 1-1 PLO, a 2-5 no limit, and a bigger limit game, either 4-8 or 8-16. Like they had the list; they existed. It sounded like people, at least some people, were interested. So, be interesting to see if any of those games actually run.
That's there's certain games in certain rooms that perpetually exist as an interest list.
Okay.
They rarely, if ever, get going, and when they do, they last for about an hour. But you'll see the same 4 names on the list every single day. I guess hoping for some wealthy Texas oil billionaire to sit down and want to play with them or something. But otherwise, they're just gonna try it for a little bit, and the first person who loses 3 pots is off with the wind, and then they all break it up.
Yeah, they're busted and they go home. So maybe that's the type of place that we should convince Nemi and Owen to host one of their meetup games. Go to either Club Fortune or Christ, what's that other one way out on Boulder Highway? Game only runs like Friday and Saturday nights, and it's only a single table 2-4. What am I thinking of? You know the one I mean. The one that's all mirrored and like bedazzled inside, essentially.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. All right. What else? Oh, we get a couple other rooms here. Orleans is interesting. It's Monday night, Thursday night, and select games on Sunday. They're doing another hot seat and splash pot promo. Field goal or 2-point conversion is $50 on the seat and a $50 splash pot. Offensive touchdown is a $100 seat and $50 splash pot. Defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown, or safety is $150 for the seat and a $50 splash pot. And they're doing $25 splash pots every 15 minutes, 2 hours before and 2 hours after Monday night and Thursday night games. So Orleans is giving away the fucking farm at this point. They are just throwing money at these promos, hoping to get the locals in. Last time I checked, Bravo was Tuesday night, and they had, I think, 23 games running already.
That's all of them. They have 23 tables that can run games.
Well, there you go. So, and that's, I think, because the Bad Beat jackpot's up super high right now, isn't it?
Both the Hold'em and the Omaha jackpot are incredibly high.
Yeah, so...
They're fighting for space.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm a little surprised that they're not usurping some of the tournament tables from...
They don't have rake drops. That's about the only
okay.
thing that would stop them. If they could find a way, they'd do it.
That makes a little more sense. All right, so I'm curious to see how long those waiting lists are going to be during
just
the
have a rake bucket and
Exactly.
toss the chips into the bucket.
Cup holder on each side, throw in the rake in. They would never do that because then the players would notice how much fucking money is in there. They'd never come back. But yeah, in my opinion, I like that the hot seat and splash pot more than the Mirage hot seat plus
the seat
two
on either
players
side.
next door. Like if you're giving $25 to the person to the left and the right, just make it a $50 splash pot. Make it,
Yeah.
and make them play fucking poker for it.
Right. Well, actually, my favorite one's the MGM, which I'm getting to in a minute, but I just wanted to mention the Flamingo first because they're doing Sundays 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday and Thursday 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. They're doing a high hand of the hour. Highest 3 hands will qualify. Highest is $100, next two are $50 each, but you only need one whole card to play. So that way, if you have like ace-6 and the board comes 6-6-6 and you hit quads, you only need that 6 in your hand to qualify for the quads for the high hand promo. There's no place in town that I know of that a high hand would qualify with a single whole card.
Well, I mean, they're giving away the same amount of money. It's kind of...
Right, no, I understand that.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
it doesn't matter, but
No, it's true.
the fact that they're doing that is pretty crazy. All right, so the MGM, I mentioned this one is my favorite, which seems to make the most sense to me. It's only the night games, Monday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. They're doing hand parlay cards. So you need to hit a hand. You need to win a hand with 2 pair, 3 of a kind, a straight, a flush, and a full house. And it's by the end of that football game that's going on. If you do that, you win $400. So that game gets over about 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock. If you do it before 9 o'clock, $400. If you do it by midnight, it's $200. And anybody who has an incomplete card, they do a drawing at midnight. First person they draw gets $300. Second person gets $200. So I mean, it's first of all, it's more poker based than the rest of them because you don't have to just get lucky once and hit a high hand. You're actually playing poker. You're going to win hands with 2 pair. You're going to win with a 3 of a kind, so you'll be able to fill in those squares. And then being able to collect $400 for that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong promo, and it convinces people to stay. What all these, hot seat and whatever promotions have is a bunch of people sticking around for that extra 10 minutes for the drawing they know is about to come up, and then running out the room as soon as they can afterwards.
Right,
So,
but being able to go 3 hours after the game and still be able to collect some money.
that is a good thing.
That's pretty strong. So, Andrew, as the professional in the room and the only one who actually needs to do this in order to pay his quote-unquote rent, which one of these sounds the most appealing to you? If any. I mean, you could very easily tell us to go fuck ourselves and that you're just going to play it like the Aria and the Win and not have to worry about these kinds of promo drops and all that.
Yeah, no, I think there's some value in looking at different promos that are running and looking at which casinos are running them and then game selecting accordingly, or at least going to one casino before another to see if that game's any good. Which I think, obviously, otherwise we probably wouldn't be telling you guys about it. But yeah, the last one we just talked about, where you can, they have the card and you have to make so many hands, and then especially with the fact that it goes on after the fact, and will encourage players to stick around and sort of chase that money to still qualify. And then even if they don't fill out their card, there's still a good chance that there's still a decent chance that they could win something. So I think that's a really smart promo, and that might be something that would be worth checking out. As far as like what it actually makes an impact on your and what the dollar amount of EV it is for these different promos, it's honestly probably fairly minimal. Like even like Venetian high hands, where they do high hands every 15 minutes. Like, oh man, every 15 minutes, like, I play for 5 hours. Like, I'm gonna get a good hand in 5 hours, and I should definitely be able to do this, or like, a bad big jackpot that's over 100K. It usually works out to like maybe $1 or $2 an hour by the time you all do it. By the time you figure out like the math of the odds of getting that said hand times all the people at the table times all the tables in the room times the amount of time that it takes, etc. But a lot of but then again, a lot of players that come into the rooms have no idea that means. They see, oh, I could win this, and all I have to do is to get lucky, and so I can sit down. And so yeah, I think that's obviously the main draw of these games is drawing in more recreational players.
Right, and I think the recreational players, especially those that are here as tourists, aren't concerning themselves with rake. They're not concerning themselves with a jackpot drop. They just see, hey, I can win more money other than just having to win poker hands. So I personally love it. I'm actually planning this Sunday of hitting up the MGM, and or not this. Well, maybe this Sunday, maybe next Sunday. We'll see how it plays out. I'm thinking about going to Laughlin this weekend, of all fucking places. It looked like some of the tournaments out there weren't necessarily the worst in the world, so might have to take a look at them. But
better than Santa Fe.
Yes, significantly better than Santa Fe.
And about as far away.
You
make a valid point there.
Speaking of playing, if we can sort of backtrack, we didn't really talk about. I mean, there wasn't really anything special that the poker rooms did per se, but there was just recently a pretty big fight night here in Vegas with Mayweather-McGregor that drove in a lot of people. And I don't know about you guys, but I personally, on Friday and Saturday night, I just decided, okay, I'm just going to live in the casinos pretty much, and over the 2 days I played 24 hours. So I don't know how the games were for you or how you guys played, but yeah, I think I put in an 8-hour session once on Friday, and then just grinded like a 16-hour session at Bellagio on Saturday.
Jesus. Tell me that you at least came away somewhat ahead after all that.
Oh yes, yeah, it was pretty frustrating on Friday night because I played for 8 hours and I made $27.
Hey, not the best hourly in the world, but that's a profit.
But but then on Saturday was much better. I played some 2-5 with Bellagio, and then the game kind of broke after the Swale went busto, and so moved to 1-3 and did even better there. So yeah, I made like 800 on that day. So
There you go.
that was decent.
Not bad. Patrick, were you playing cash at that time? Because that weekend, you know me, I'm more of a tournament player than anything else, and I was stubborn, stuck with tournaments, and just couldn't get there. So
Yeah, I took poor advantage of that opportunity. I played a nightly tournament at TI the night of the fight, which I thought was going to be pretty well attended, but unfortunately, the fight got delayed because of pay-per-view issues. So by the time people were coming out of the T-Mobile arena ready to gamble, the tournament had been going for an hour and a half. But no, that was about all I did, and it didn't really seem very much different. But yeah, I mean, if I'd have been more committed, I should have gone and played a cash game somewhere on the strip. But
yeah, now I did play cash Labor Day this past weekend. You know, I started with tournaments and then just had a ridiculous hand, which I'll talk very briefly about on my other podcast, Poker School Dropout, plug. And it was probably the most insane thing I've ever seen from anybody, poker pro, poker newbie, just anybody. The sickening call that this person made on me that busted me out of a tournament. But our buddy Morgan talked me into going to play at the newly reopened Westgate Poker Room. He said the cash games there are usually pretty good. Went to check it out, and sure as shit, I bought in for 2. I cashed out for about 700. So, you know me, I'm not a cash game player to begin with. And then took more advantage of that at Planet Hollywood the next night, and yeah, I had a pretty decent weekend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, we talked all that much about the Westgate opening.
No, and I mean it opened with such little fanfare so
Right.
far, and you know they've done a little bit to promote it. You know, I think they put an article in like Card Player magazine or one of those. But I mean, really.
You just don't want to talk about it because you don't have tournaments.
Well, they're going to be starting the tournaments next week. I actually, when I was there, first of all, the staff at the Westgate, the people that I've talked to there have been super friendly. Dave, the floor guy, is amazingly nice. He sat and we shot the shit about hockey, about what they're planning on doing with the room. You know, their first big purchase are going to be new chairs because right now they're just using those shitty convention hall chairs, which everybody hates. But once they get the new chairs, you know, they'll be a little bit bigger, a little bit fatter. They'll go from 10-handed to 9. They are going to be starting nightly tournaments. I don't know anything about buy-in. I don't think they're that much. I think they're in like the $50 to $70 range, something like that. But I have no idea about like starting stack and, you know, opening blind ratio and that kind of thing. So I'm curious to see how that all works out. But no, I mean the room itself is pretty decent. It's right off the sports book, as one would expect. You know, I'm hoping it does well. It seems like it should, but you know, it's the kind of place where if you didn't already know that it was going to be opening, you'd never think to look for it. Right. Because, you know, they closed that room. I think they've closed it 2 or 3 times already.
Yeah, I think this is like the 4th or 5th time that it's open, technically.
Yeah, Patrick and I remember played there in the olden days.
Yeah, usually 2 plus 2 is under LVL anyway, is pretty on top of things going on in Vegas, and I saw that this new room was opening up the next day, and literally nothing was on it about it. So yeah, but yeah, it's a couple of just like quick interesting things to note about the room, other than the like physical attributes that you went over. Is it does have the shortest buy-in in town for 1-2, a $60 minimum buy-in.
I didn't realize that.
And a maximum of 200. So
it's a 200 max?
I mean, 200 cap. Yeah. So
all right. Well, we'll work on them changing that. I mean, I would prefer to play deeper. I only buy in for 200, but I would prefer other people buy in for more.
Right. So yeah, deeper games are always usually preferable. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that game is, and especially during football season with Westgate being the largest sports book in Nevada, and then and now they have a poker room. It'd be pretty interesting to see if that room attracts any of the people just sweating their parlays and stuff.
Yeah, I hope it does, especially the bigger sports gamblers. If they're betting $10,000 a game, maybe they're not going to give a shit if they dump 2 or 3 buy-ins at a 1-2 game. So that might work out pretty well for us. But yeah, no, I wish them all the success in the world. But like you said, they don't have tournaments. So right now, aside from that fluky game that I went to with Morgan, I'm not really paying too much attention to it.
Do we know anything more about the Palms?
I have not heard that much. For some reason, I found myself at Palace Station last night, which, if you have no reason to go to Palace Station, don't go to Palace Station. First of all, they're in the middle of just a shit ton of construction, and it's like absolutely absurd trying to get around in there. But the poker room only spreads 2-4 and 2-6 spread limit. They do not do no limit. They don't do tournaments. They don't do anything like that. I just happen to be there signing up for the station's football contest that they run every year, and just figured I'd wander into a 2-4 game. But while I was there, I asked the floor man if he had heard anything more about it, and he said the players hear about things before he does. But I did ask him what the future of that room was, because if Palms is going to reopen, it's probably a little bit closer to the Strip. It's certainly nicer than Palace Station, at least right now. I don't know what it's going to look like after the remodel. But, if that room's going to close, then, I'd feel bad for those players losing a spot. And he said, no, the poker room at Palace Station is in their future plans. They are going to keep it open. Now, they're probably going to shrink it because they never get more than 2 or 3 games going in there, and they've got about 10 tables. So, presumably, the room will shrink, but they are keeping a poker room when that room gets or when that casino gets remodeled. So, be curious to hear. But no, I haven't heard anything new about the Palms. Patrick, have you heard anything? You were my source on this, I think, to begin with.
I've heard nothing so far. I haven't been asking around, but yeah, since Palms was bought by Stations, it just makes only good sense that they'd open a room there. But that's another one of those third time's the charm type rooms. As the Palms has a very checkered history of poker rooms.
Yeah, that's now that was the one where they were doing a $1 rake, $4 promo drop,
yes,
and then the manager was stealing all the money out of the promo money. Correct?
He would play in the games to get the games going, and then would refund his losses out of the jackpot pool.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sure he would argue that it's not technically stealing, but just helping getting the game moving along. I'm guessing the people in charge of the poker room probably didn't feel that was that was the case.
Yeah, that doesn't smell kosher to me, but what do I know? All right, so I think that is going to do it for this episode of Seat Open in Sin City. We are running a little bit long, otherwise we'd get to asking Bike some more personal questions. Sorry, I keep calling you by your old nickname. We would be asking Mick Folden about some of his some of his personal questions, but we will get to that in a future episode. But thank you very much for listening. As always, our contact information is down below. Feel free to give us a like, leave us a comment. We do read all comments that are left, which as of now is up to 1. We have gotten a comment from somebody not related to us, so we are very thankful for that. But if you have anything to say, please let us know. We are always looking for feedback and ways to make this thing better. Nick Folden, Patrick, anything else for the good of the order?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you very much again for listening. Now get the hell out of my house.